my name is James and you are joining me for the first of my YouTube videos, of which I hope there will be many. I am currently on a train outside a uncharacteristically sunny Ipswich on the way to Leeds to pick up my new car, which is a Lotus Evora 400. Any of you that can read, I'm sure will know it already because that will be the title of the video. As this train is hideously noisy, sounds like it's going to fall apart at any point in time, I will fill you in with some more details when we change trains at Peterborough to head to Leeds. I will speak to you then.
We made it.
Mind the gap.
Holy moly.
Train service to York only.
Alright, let's go. Welcome to the north. You ever been this far north before, Sam?
No, probably not.
See viewers, our lovely cameraman Sam has been rather neglected throughout his life because not only has he never been this far north, which some would argue about the merits of that, but I think it's certainly character building if nothing else. I found out earlier the shocking fact Sam has actually never seen Aliens. Personally, I think that's tantamount to child abuse, really. Speaking of child abuse, don't trip over these children. As my passions, along with cars, are basically films and cameras, I feel honour bound to educate Sam in the ways of both of those. Handy because he likes cameras as well. And as I'm not paying him anything, he's just here for the fun, I better teach him something, so I might have to show him Aliens tonight. And how have you not gone with that? How old are you? Old enough, he's old enough to have not seen Aliens. Or Scarface?
On the list?
What else have you not seen, Sam? What you not seen? Have you seen The Godfather?
Nope. On the list?
What am I working with here? Not seen The Godfather? Alright, oh great. Leeds Station. The same colour as the sky. I found one Aston that was quite nice. It was in like a blue. It looked really, really cool. And I was going to go look at it, but it sold like straight away because there's not very many of them. Yeah. It's amazing that even in an Aston Martin dealership, there's a room out the back where they've got all the different colours and all the leathers and everything, and then everyone just chooses grey with a black interior. You know. Oh, no. So yeah, it's a bit dull, really. Don't like dull cars. So you can spend that money on a car, buy a fun one. Simple as.
Which Lotus have you got?
It's an Evora 400.
Okay.
So they're fairly new. Yeah. Well, I'm doing I'm kind of combining pastimes of, you know, I'm a cameraman by trade. I love my cars, and I never really get to do the two together. Yeah. So I decided that I'm going to get a Lotus and sort of document it and video it and shoot it and do whatever.
Oh, nice.
Slings it on YouTube.
Once.
So I'm actually starting to feel excited, to be honest. Mostly apprehensive all morning. I hope that it stays dry, at least for me to collect the car. It will be nice to do my first 10 yards in the car in the dry. I'm definitely not going to have it as some sort of garage queen. I've known people that have had these cars and never take them out in the wet or the rain or whatever, and I'm not that sort of person. I will drive it and I will enjoy it, whatever the weather. And yeah, so fingers crossed we shall be there in a few minutes. We're now driving through Leeds. Do excuse me, I have terrible hay fever. We're now driving through Leeds, through the world capital of speed cameras, which is the A65. And we'll get to the Lotus dealership soon. The dealership that I use is JCT 600, which is a pretty big dealership in the north of the country. Because I live in the southeast, I don't really see them very often, but I've seen a lot of cars with their logo on, and they are actually a family-owned dealership. Despite the size of them, they have a lot of branches. I don't know quite how many. The one that we're going to is a Lotus only dealership, and it's only just recently opened, and it's based in Yeadon in Leeds. So there's a couple of guys there. Jake is the person I've been dealing with. Richard also works with him, so you'll probably meet those guys in a minute. It's I think that's it really. Right, so okay, so here's the sign that says speed cameras, and we're 3.5 miles away. So now, many times you'll see a sign that says speed cameras, and it doesn't mean it, they just like to have a sign. Let's see how many cameras we can see. Bearing in mind that nearly all of them are, like this one, forward-facing little devils. So, let's just count them as singles, not as pairs. So there's one, there's speed camera number 2, 3, camera number 4, a camera that direction pointing this way, so that's sort of number 5, number 6 pointing this way, so that's sort of number 8, number 10, and there's number 12 with still 2 miles to go. And lucky number 13, number 14, 15, is this 16 now? I have a theory that someone at the council wanted to buy 2 of these cameras, and they accidentally bought 20, because this is now the 17th one in 6 miles on the same piece of road. And you can see down here the dealership. I'm actually feeling quite excited now.
Oh, but you're busting it.
Yeah.
Wait, where you say, is this it here? This
Straight
JCT,
down there, yeah, JCT. So you go straight over the roundabout, and you got to turn right. Right here. Ah. That's the sort of sign you want to see. I like coming to the car dealership. Mr. Martin, congratulations on your new Lotus Evora 400. So that is my car.
Is that yours?
Alright, let's go. This is the most expensive smile I've ever had. Yeah, where are we getting? Oh, I hope they're not closed. That would be terrible.
Mr. Martin, how are you?
Hello. You need a more obvious door.
We do. Pleasure.
Likewise, Jake. This is Sam, my traffic cameraman.
Sam, nice to meet you. How you doing, fella?
Good, yep.
How have you been?
Yeah, not bad.
James Henry. Sales manager here, how are you doing?
Nice to meet you.
Hello, how you doing? You alright? Are you filming on that, are we?
Yeah, very good, thanks.
Okay, cool. Fair enough.
He's my man. This
Is your man?
project.
Is that what you do for a living then, is it?
It is, yeah. I mean, I've never bought a new car in my life. I'll probably never do it again. Right. But of all the companies that I'd actually probably not feel bad about letting have my money, Lotus is one of them, because I'm sure they could sort of, you know, this will probably paint the bathrooms, you know, at Hethel. So
I'll have to nip over the road and take a photocopy of this, if that's okay.
Go and do your stuff. I'm gonna pitch. I'm gonna have a walk around with Sam because I want to walk around here. Alright, so yeah, this is JCT 600's new building up in Yeadon in Leeds. You can see they have a lovely collection of cars in here. The best one is at the back, is under wraps at present. So this is a Series 1 Evora. Sports racer. It's not officially called a Series 1, but that's what people seem to be calling it because the 400 is quite a different car. The sports racer is most easily identified by the fact that it has a black roof, black sills, funky seats inside as well, if you can see that very well, but it's got the red piping seats and stuff inside. The easiest way to tell the 400 or the new cars apart from each other is from either the very front or the very back. So at the very front, this vehicle was sold, some very lucky chap is having this. It's got the more traditional Lotus sort of shaped nose, whereas the 400 has got a more angular sort of look, which is kind of similar to the Exige. And then the back, the spoiler is a different design. Lovely, thank you very much. No problem. So there's one thing I want to show you on the orange 400, which is their demonstrator car, still for sale, which I drove a few weeks ago and drives lovely. Well, it drives well, and then I bought a car, so that's my opinion on it. There's one thing about these cars that I really like, and I appear to be the only person on the planet that does. So, in the interior, you can see a little Lotus logo on the dash here, which apparently nobody likes. I thought it looked a bit cheap, horrible, plasticky. I actually don't mind it myself, but they've stopped making them, and I asked whether they could actually put one on my car, and they couldn't because the factory don't do them anymore. So I was, I was the only person that sort of liked the things apparently. Hey ho. So you got XC's Roadster out here. There's another Series 1 sports racer. One of the things I really love about pretty much any Lotus dealership is it's a riot of colour. There's just very few silver or grey or white cars, whereas you go to sort of any BMW, Aston dealership, it's a sea of not exciting colours. I mean, look at this. This is I think this is an early Exige. It's funky colours. It's quite cool. These are there you go, this vehicle's being prepped. You look at the leather inside here. It's all nicely coloured, trimmed, and everything. It's a really cool looking car. Boring paperwork. Exciting car.
I need some music for it.
That's it.
Oh, we do it later.
It's like the rock. It's like the Rocky
Joy of
music.
editing. That's the Evora. Oh shit! Oh bollocks!
Oh no! I actually thought it was gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. You can take a picture of that. 10 miles on the clock.
Suits look great, don't it?
Can you see that yellow handle there?
Okay. Oh yeah.
Got the oil
But
filler
you're not
cap.
going to do that when the engine's hot, are you?
No. Oil filler cap just there.
See it? Just there.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah. Right.
Yeah.
There's basically nothing under here of, well, engineering interest. There's loads under here, but there is no boot or anything under here. That is it.
So in terms of like the colour on the back of the seats, in terms of the colour code, having the colour on the back of the seats, obviously it's a different material, it didn't match.
That's fine.
Same colour code. So what I did decide, so I went along and actually went to the paint shop and decided which colour would actually suit the car inside. I feel that actually that colour now, and I felt obviously at the end of the day that I wanted you to be extremely happy. Now the colour's a bit darker inside, but actually outside it matches perfectly.
It always will be inside.
But again, the opposite way around is a bit too light.
If you look at the sill, you know, you look at the bottom, the colour is, because the
So
light's
it's,
different.
I think it just stands out a lot better as well. And for that reason, they
lifts
wanted
it.
that
Just a little. Just gives you a something.
Yeah.
I mean, the interior in these is actually quite good because you sit nice and forwards in it. To some of the other stuff I drove, like the R8 in particular, is very bad for you feel so far from everything.
You do indeed.
Like, you're just like, there's me, then there's like a field, and then there's the road over there.
You might as well have sat in a Mustang. That's how I do it, because there's just that much in front of
I
you.
spent some time in a Camaro last year. That was like, yeah. So, anyone fancies originality? Not the car for you. 10 miles on it's not original already.
Have fun.
Have fun, guys.
I'll try. Not too much though. See ya. Right. New car, first drive. Most important thing, sports exhaust. Yeah, a bus letting you out. That doesn't happen in a
Go straight
BMW.
on at the roundabout, taking the second exit.
Blimey, she's forceful. Okay, so we're about 2 miles away from the dealership. My first 2 miles in my new Evora 400. So it's probably a good time to talk about why I bought the car. I started looking for a car in February.
To enter the roundabout after half a mile.
Thank you, sat-nav woman. So I started looking for a car in February, and oddly I had a couple of criteria that this car doesn't fulfill at all. I'd recently bought an E46 BMW M3, which will probably be featured in another video, because I needed a sporty car with 4 seats in it that could be used by 4 adults to drive around with. My requirements changed, and I no longer needed to have a car of my own with space for 4 adults in it. So one of the first things I started looking at was the R8. I'd previously driven an R8 V8 manual a few years ago, and it was a nice car, but I felt it didn't feel very quick, and it didn't feel particularly engaging to drive. And I decided to try the V10 version of that car to see if the bigger engine borrowed from the Gallardo made any sort of difference. It was a nice car to drive. I'm not really in love with the V10 noise myself, but ultimately it kind of didn't really impress me. It felt just like an Audi on the inside. You really needed one with all of the carbon fibre bits on it to feel anything special, and a lot of them didn't have that. So I was just a bit disappointed, and to be honest, for that amount of money, I didn't really want to buying a car that was nice. For that amount of money, I wanted a car that puts a smile like a 5-year-old child on my face every time I got in it, or even just looked at it in the driveway. One of the cars that I'd looked at on Auto Trader, Piston Heads, and eBay for many years was the original Evora. And I thought that they would be worth driving. I'd seen some and liked the look of them, seen some and not been so keen, but as a Lotus has always been about the driving experience, I thought the best thing to do would be to go and test one. I phoned Lotus up because I wanted to test drive an Evora S. The original Evora came in 2 versions, the regular and the S, the difference mainly being a supercharger in the S. So I always sort of preferred the idea of the supercharged version. I didn't really realise that the Evora 400 had came out, right? I wasn't certainly paying much attention to it at the time. I phoned Lotus up and they basically wanted to sell me a 400, but I didn't want to buy one. So I asked them if there was a dealer that had both the S and the 400 in that I could try. The nearest dealer to me was Stratton Motor Company, and they had a Evora S in Canyon Red, which was in my price range at the time. And so I organised a trip down there, and I spoke to James, their Lotus sales guy, who took me out in the S, and then also kindly took me out in the 400. Unfortunately, I really liked the 400, so much so that I decided to work out if there would be a way that I could afford one. And basically I kept trying other cars in the process. I tried a couple of different versions of the R8, different colour combinations and things. I was going to look at either a Ferrari 430 or a Gallardo, but I didn't ever see one at an equivalent price to the Lotus that I thought seemed right. And one of the things I've learned from the specialists that look after them is that they're generally pretty good cars and pretty reliable and easy to maintain, but unfortunately if they have been neglected, putting them right is ruinously expensive, basically. For me, buying this car was a huge amount of money. It is by far the most I've pretty much spent on anything in my life. So I wanted to make sure that I'd be happy, and also that it wasn't going to suddenly demand another £20,000 out of me that I simply don't have. The things about the Evora that really drew me to it, I mean, the original Evora, the shape I always thought was okay, but I was never in love with it. When I saw it in the flesh, I liked it quite a bit more than in pictures. In pictures, I felt it looked a little bit soft, but in the flesh, it's a lot more angular, it's a lot more sharp, and a lot more aggressive. And for a car that debuted in 2009, so it's now about 7 years old, it still looks very modern and very nice. But what really takes my breath away with the original car is the way it handles. A lot has been waxed lyrical about Lotus handling over the past, and to be honest, it's my only experience of a Lotus car is in an Evora, and I can see completely where their reputation comes from. I've never driven one, but the only car I can think of drawing comparisons with, from what I've read, is the McLarens, because they seem to get praise for being a very well riding car, but also a very good handling car. Typically, a very sporty car may have a very stiff suspension to allow it to handle well in the corners, but you compromise on your ride comfort when you're not bombing around a back lane. The Lotus, however, really does ride exceedingly well on uneven or less than perfect surfaces, but still handles brilliantly. The steering in this car is absolutely fantastic. There is never any doubt about what the car is doing. Another thing that was important to me is that I love having a brisk drive around the country lanes that are near to my home, or if I'm travelling about, or in Europe, having a go on the autobahn, and that's wonderful and that's great fun. But the reality of driving, for the most part, is that you're going to spend an awful lot of time stuck behind something or stuck in traffic, and so when I'm in those scenarios, I want something that feels just as special doing 20-30 miles an hour as it does doing 90 or 100 or around a racetrack or on the autobahn or wherever. And I feel the Lotus really does manage that. People love it, as the young lady in the red car next to us certainly approves. So yeah, my mother is not very interested, it seems. Okay, so we are at 68 miles on the odometer, so that's 58 miles into the journey. We're about a third of the way home. We are on the lovely, barren, featureless A1. Traffic is not too bad. It was a bit sticky getting out of Leeds. The first few miles of the A1 were a bit horrible, but we're through that now and swift progress is being made. The car is performing pretty well. Noticed a few tiny niggles, and as I intend this to be a sort of warts and all and an honest review, I'll tell you what they are. The sat-nav entertainment system appears to crap itself when we put my USB stick into it. That being said, it is a 64GB stick which is loaded with about 20 gig of music, so I think it's just losing itself a little bit. I'm going to experiment with that. Maybe I've done something wrong with the formatting of the stick or the file formats on there. The good news is that for the rest of the part, this works as it's intended to. A lot of people criticise Lotus for the aftermarket stereo they've put in. I don't really have any problems with it. It's touchscreen, which I don't like, but that's a personal preference. It generally sort of does what it's meant to. Radio works absolutely fine, and we're even streaming Spotify from my mobile phone in lieu of the USB working. Occasionally I'm getting a very slight rattle from the window here when it's fully closed, but I think it's just a sort of a seal, probably being just brand spanking new. The only other thing I've noticed is that the steering wheel appears to be very slightly off centre. I probably wouldn't have noticed it if it wasn't for the fact that they put this lovely red stripe on it, showing me exactly where dead centre should be. So when I want to go straight ahead, I think it's just off to the side, but that's no doubt very easily resolved. Most crucially though, the car is absolutely fantastic to drive. The very small amount of nice sort of sweepy roads, we had a couple of sections earlier where the traffic was free flowing. The car feels really good. We're not really going to be able to delve into the performance aspects of the car until probably later this weekend, and not properly until the thing's had its first service. Speaking of which, I will do a separate video on servicing and maintenance of these. This is one of the really good bits about these cars, is that some of the humble origins of the parts used, it's a Toyota engine, mean that the service costs are actually pretty reasonable. They are, I would say, comparable, if not cheaper than an entry-level Porsche. Nearly home, now familiar territory. The engine's loosened up a little bit. I was advised that after the first 150 miles I get to enjoy the rev range a little bit more. As the car's now done more than 150 miles, I intend to enjoy the rev range a little bit more. So Sam, if you want to point the camera that way, I'll roll down a window and we can enjoy a brisk drive through some nice country roads. I'm probably going to end this video. There will be more coming very, very soon. In summary, the Evora 400 is an absolutely fantastic car. I was obviously fairly certain of that fact before I put down the money for one, but having now driven it on some roads that I know well, it's just sublime. Handling is really something that's pretty impossible to communicate through a video. Hopefully the sheer sights and sounds of the thing are at least doing some job of showing what a fantastic product Lotus have managed to put together. And I'll be doing a lot more stuff very soon on a variety of topics, and I really hope that you've enjoyed this video and that you'll be joining me for some more in the near future. In the meantime, have a great day. Bye. So I've just filled up. I wanted to just top up the tank while we're still in town and not paying motorway rip-off prices. Strange thing happened in the service station. A lovely lady at the counter asked me what the car was, and I told her it was a Lotus, and she said, "Oh well, I win the lottery. I think I'll get myself one of them. It's a lovely colour." That's amazing. I mean, it's a little British sports car, and the first time I fill it up and someone tells me if they win the lottery they want to buy one. So I feel rather good about my purchase.